and allow more oxygen to stay to be oxygenated. Now the respiratory therapist comes to you and say, this is the gas now. You want to switch it back? It's mainly ventilation issue. So you're gonna say, I have 8 things to do to improve ventilation. Buddha Judge.
I mean, you can still increase the high time.
Nope.
No?
Not even one of the 8.
Oh, you decrease the high time?
Yes.
Oh.
Decrease the high time. So basically, if you decrease the high time, you're allowing. What is the respiratory rate in this mode? Did we mention respiratory rate? There's no respiratory rate.
Yeah.
So that's the respiratory rate. You decrease the high time, and then it changes more frequently.
Yeah.
We don't touch really the low time. The low time might affect it, but the low time is 0.3. So we're gonna make it what, 0.6 from 0.7. It's not gonna affect the big picture, and at the same time, it will play with this dangerous ratio here that can kill the patient. So we don't want to do that. Right? So that's the decreasing the high time. If the high time is 6, you're gonna get about 9 breaths per minute. High time is let's say 4, you're gonna get probably 14, 13 breaths per minute. Right? So that's the high time in classic APRV. I'm reminding you again, we're talking about classic APRV. We're not talking about the BILEVEL that we use every day. Okay? There's a big distinction, and I think that's the key to understand this stuff. Professor Wild West.
You could probably decrease the high pressure.
Nope.
Increase.
Hmm?
I don't want to decrease the low
Increase
pressure.
it.
Oh,
And I'm gonna give it a bonus.
because that would increase your tidal volume.
Bonus. Increase the high pressure and decrease the low pressure by raising this up.
Go the whole way down to that low.
Well,
The
that
low
low.
pressure, the 0 to 5.
Well, you can't go lower than 0, so you can go from 5 to 0, and you can actually keep it at 0, as long as you're watching this
Okay.
the ratio,
That is the
right?
ratio.
So you go up here and you go down there, and by going from 30 to 35, and this is from 5 to 0, you increase the delta pressure by 10, so more tidal volume.
Mm.
Buddha Judge.
Oh boy. I don't know if I.
This is something that you said last time.
I said that so?
Mm-hmm.
Pressure support.
Yes. So we'll increase the pressure support. That's number 5. This is all in order of preference, right? So increase the pressure support. Why? So increasing the pressure support is guaranteed to actually increase your minute ventilation by definition, right? You have small tidal volume here, 150 or something. You add tidal volume, becomes 250 each. That's it. You increase your minute ventilation, guaranteed. But why is it number 5? It's not higher than that. For many reasons. Number 1 is that by the time you increase the high pressure, which is the most preferred, right? You go up to 35. If you add more pressure support to it, that'll be above 35. We don't want to go above 35. That number, we don't want to, maybe will injure the lung, although there's debate, right? So that's number 1. Number 2, this mode of ventilation, another claim to fame. Remember the claims to fame? I don't know how many we have said so far, but another claim to fame to this mode is that it's not only a recruitment and weaning and all of this mode, it's a mode of ventilation that improves VQ matching. Why? All the controlled modes of ventilation, volume control, pressure control, all of these things, it gives you pressure. And when there's a positive pressure going in the lung, what happens is that it goes in a path of least resistance, so it over-inflates these alveoli, and under-inflate, west zone number 3 is be the least inflated. So it exaggerates the pre-existing VQ mismatch. This mode of ventilation, because there's a lot of spontaneous breathing here, it will allow improvement in a VQ match, right? Because the negative pressure breath is much better distributed throughout the lung, right? So that's why there's a fear that if we add pressure support to the mode of ventilation, we might negate that benefit, because we're giving a positive pressure to a negative pressure breath, right? So we might negate this. That's why people are moving away. That's why pressure support is always 0. In this and in BILEVEL, always 0, the pressure support. There's only few circumstances where we have to increase the pressure support, or we should increase the pressure support, which is when we wean the patient. let's say the patient is weaning, and this pressure, the high pressure is going so low now that it's going like 10, 15, let's say 15, for 14 seconds, right? And 5 pressure for 0.5 seconds, right? So what's the difference between 15 and 5? That's very, very small delta, so very small tidal volume. And for 14 seconds, I'm giving the patient only 4 breaths per minute, nothing. So I'm giving 4 breaths per minute, and they're very tiny breaths. The patient might feel that they are short of breath, just subjectively. So we can add pressure support to them. And for that, it's not gonna negate any benefit or anything because the patient is improving anyway, right? So, you know, we can use that. What else? I'm gonna say, increase or prolong the low time. This is the most guaranteed way to improve the ventilation. But why is it number 4? Because you can see, by going from here to here, this area is additional area under the curve. That's it. You know, there's no debate. You will improve the tidal volume, no question about it. The only problem with that is that it's almost like throwing the towel early, throwing your white towel early, because when I say increase the low time, you will never come out of this ratio. You're always gonna remain between the ratio. You know, that goes without saying. You know, when I increase the low time, you will always make sure that you remain between this. So we're moving within the ratio, right? The ratio was 60%. I'll make it 30%. That's more area under the curve or whatever. But even though you're still within the ratio, the higher the ratio, the better the recruitment. The lower the ratio, the less the recruitment. So you're throwing the towel very early. Why? Do all the others, right? And wait. And at some point, everything is going to improve. Everything is going to recruit. If you just wait and take, go over the hump, then everything is going to improve, and you don't need to increase the low time anymore. All right. Last one. We have a couple here. Decrease sedation. So what happens when in a pressure control or volume control mode, we say the patient is doing bad. What do? We sedate them more. Doing worse, we paralyze them. We take over. We kind of a controlled mode of ventilation. This is the opposite. Another claim to fame to this mode. The worse you get, the more you decrease the sedation. Because by decreasing the sedation, there's more of those breaths, and there's more minute ventilation. So the rule of thumb when we say to the nurses how to sedate patients with APRV or BILEVEL, we say, look at the best and everything, but in addition to that, you have to have at least one yellow bleb on the high time. Yellow bleb meaning spontaneous breath. If you don't see spontaneous breath, that means 2 things. Either you're over-sedating the patient or over-ventilating the patient. The patient doesn't want to breathe. So you're going to have to give me that one bleb. But if I'm in trouble, I'll make that one bleb 3, 4, 5 by decreasing the sedation. Okay? And then the last 2 things, it'll take more time to talk about them, so I'm not going to talk about them a lot today. THAM, which is a buffer, the best buffer available. It's used for pressure. We talked about it. It's used for respiratory acidosis and removal of dead space. And I think there's no time, so I'm going to talk about it in another time in details. Okay? And that is it. Imagine that. That's it.